up, my man?
Good morning. It is June 14th, 2018. It is 9:20 a.m. Central Standard Time here in Nashville, Tennessee. And welcome to the Crushing Iron Triathlon Podcast.
Yeah, I was thinking as you were dating that again, someday, I was listening to a podcast on the pyramids the other day, and someday, thousands of years from now, somebody's going to unearth the Crushing Iron Triathlon Podcast. Be like, my goodness, this was 5,000 years ago. These guys were ahead of the curve.
That's right, man. We're like a podcast triathlon time capsule.
Yeah. Can you imagine, if someday we become the old school way to do things? They go back to the basics. They got all these, fancy new gadgets and everything, and they're all going to be like...
We're already there.
I know, but I'm just saying, 3,000 years from now, when people really start writing, the gospel.
the tri-gospel. I'm pretty sure somebody's already written that. I mean, we just hope that, the eventually, because right now, for the most part, I think with the things that we talk about and our stuff we talk about with detaching from your devices and stuff like that is so counterintuitive to most everything else. So we hope that the old becomes new again thing, and then people will be like, dude, these guys knew it all along. We don't want to be ruled by robots and GPSs and heart rate monitors and data. We want to go out and train and enjoy ourselves. And these guys nailed it way back in 2018.
Yep. It might be too late by then, man.
I know.
They might have chips embedded and
dude, by the time people
automatic.
Yep, by the time people figure that out and get back to the heart of the sport and actually what you should be doing anyway, but all races will be inside.
Oh yeah.
They'll be virtual races. They're pretty close to that already, man. Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, with all the indoor training that people do now with Zwift and all that kind of stuff, and them having the same thing for running, it's, I don't know, dude, it's kind of scary. I see. I mean, we talked about this before. I see a little bit of, but it's just the sport's isolating enough.
Yeah.
Let's not trap ourselves inside our house in a room and compete with other virtually. If you're gonna be inside on a computer, play Nintendo, Contra or Mario Brothers or California Games or Double Dragon. At least play some some good technology. Old school Nintendo. Don't be stuck. If you don't have to.
Yeah, I don't know what you just said there. I'm not a video guy, but it's
these are 1980s Nintendo.
That's right. Oh, okay.
And dude, I'm not the guy in my mom's basement yelling for Meatloaf playing
Warcraft or Minecraft or.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny, dude, because listen, I'm sure we'll get some hate mail for this, but sometimes Allie will tell me that she's friends with all these moms, obviously, and she's like, yeah, their husbands they still will stay up late and play video games.
Oh,
I'm like,
who does?
Well, first of all, people, but grown ass men.
Oh,
husbands,
yeah. I know.
Father. Who has time for that?
Well, that's the escape, right?
Yeah, you know what my escape is? Sleep.
Going to sleep, yeah. That'd be nice.
Go to sleep. But anyway, we won't go off on our game console review podcast either. So
we won't. Well, I was just thinking about what as this sort of virtual reality goes further along. Can you imagine putting on glasses like that and actually thinking your way through a triathlon without even moving? I mean, I wonder if that is one of those things. It's all right, stroke. Just think about moving.
Stroke.
And you're in the water, and you're
like a virtual reality Ironman, so you can stand and stand still for the longest.
Yeah, I mean, a super intense mental training. It's a visualization, man. It's sort of what I do now a lot. But speaking of technology, I mean, people keep talking to me about I need to get a power meter, and I keep telling them you got to ride your bike to even use a power meter.
This is true. Yeah, don't. And it's one of this guy like always told me that I used to work for when I used to manage a triathlon store and bike shop. He every time somebody come in asking about power meters, he'd say, "Listen, 80% of people who own power meters just have a really, really expensive cat eye or odometer, like $1,000 thing that they have the power. They just don't know how to use it. They don't know how to pace themselves from it. They don't know how to look at any kind of the data. They just have one and they roll with it."
Well, dude, I think ultimately that's my biggest holdup. Is that you know how I am with data and all that stuff anyway.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I am a feel machine.
Then there's nothing wrong with that. You know? There's nothing wrong with that.
So I just feel like, I'll get that thing and I'll be like, okay, I got all these numbers. Hell, I can't even sync my watch to anything, it seems like, anyway. So it's like, it just seems like it's opening a whole can of worms. And I am just so flustered with these computer updates in general. I know I'm really sounding old right now, but come on, man. I've had my car for like over 10 years, and that thing's been perfect. Why do I need an update on my web browser every 2 days? It's like, Jesus, really?
Yeah. Hey, it happens, man. It happens to the best of us. Updates.
It happens to the best of us.
Happens to the
I
best
know
of
it
us.
does. It's just so... I don't know. Man. Sometimes you just got to get out and hit the pavement.
Dude, I'm right there with you.
I know you are. I'm
right there with you. It's like one of the, like, it's funny because athletes like really, really, really love, like, or they act like they love like their watches and their data and their heart rate, and they love doing it. And like, it's funny because a lot of times with athletes, especially when I like start like beginning working with them, I'm like, you know what? Just put your heart rate monitor in the drawer and let's not look at it for a while.
Mm.
They're like, really? That's like the best news I've ever heard. Because I had this one young lady I just started working with. I was like, especially like in like when you like this athlete had just like somewhat recently moved to like Arizona. And the heat there, like, even when you wake up at, like, 8, is, like, sweltering.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, if you go out and run in, like, Zone 1 or Zone 2, you're going to make it to the mailbox.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have to walk again. And so it's just, like, just and that's why I'm just such a fan of, obviously, running on feel anyway. And there was a really good article that I read yesterday that touched on, kind of this was something that we touch on all the time about, devices and technology and detaching from it, and then just kind of in general like the training, the programming that people seem to be under when they're being trained or even sometimes even being coached when it comes time to forcing athletes into a pace or forcing them into a heart rate change or something like that. It just becomes programmable, and we've talked about this before. But this, it's a lot for a lot of athletes who like can finally like let go. They enjoy it and they find it freeing. And I think as coaches and athletes, we have to be willing to explore that side of our athletic ability and take risks. And just kind of figure things out, because there's been so many times that I've worked with athletes, and this happens like almost once a week, is that they'll just go on like a regular training run and they'll go by feel and they won't look at their watch, and all of a sudden they'll come back like, I never knew I'd ever be capable of running that fast.
Yeah.
But if you go by their these whatever heart rate metrics or your threshold and lactate threshold tests and like do this, and like you're pigeonholing an athlete into, what you think they can do. And some coaches love that. They love having that control over what you do or don't do. But it robs the athlete of this discovery, like self-discovery. And that's like one of the best parts of coaching is like when these athletes on a week-to-week basis like do this part of self-discovery, when you tell them to go by feel and kind of run their own thing. Like as a coach, like it would be boring as hell to me to have every athlete run. All right, well, today's run you're gonna average between 140 and 155 heart rate. Okay, like where's the self discovery?
Yeah.
See, Maddie agrees. It's just like, I don't know. I don't get it. I know that, some athletes swear by it, but running, I've seen too many good coaches recommend, obviously, don't do that, or strictly by paces, and I've seen too many good things from too many athletes in that, like I said, like that athletic discovery, that is so that you can rob from an athlete, I think, by programming them into their safe zone.
I just don't know, how you ever explore your boundaries. In a way, I just know how you feel sometimes, and if you're like always forcing yourself into some kind of target box, I just feel like you're not letting go or something,
Well, you're not.
Well, yeah, it's sort of, it's kind of what we were talking about in the beginning. It's sort of this virtual kind of like target always. And there's just something about, there's so many times when I've talked about how I'm not always in that mindset, but there's a lot of times when I'm running faster when it really does feel easier to me for whatever reason. And, why can't we accept that? Why do we put these? Why do we always put limits? And I know that there's a fine line there, because as you're training and you're building, and we're getting very close to completing our first ebook PDF, which is the Beginner's Guide to Triathlon, and there's definitely a lot to be said for staying in those boxes and keeping yourself restrained as you kind of improve and things like that. And then it's like, at what point, do you take off the reins and just let the horse go? You know what I mean? It's an interesting concept to think about, really, because you want to build up, but
you can't ever let an athlete really go, because they're not going to know what it feels like if you don't let them do it in training.
Yeah,
and
that's true too.
That's so much like, and like, especially, can you tell me this? Like, you go, so next week we have our second camp of the year. We got a little over 20 athletes coming in town from all over, and we're going to go to a place called Percy Warner Park, which is we'll run like a 5.8 to 6 mile trail. And it is, as hard as it is one of the most beautiful places you'll ever run.
Yeah.
Yes, is it gonna be difficult? Sure. But how much of that are you really gonna be able to look up and enjoy if every 3 seconds you're looking down to see if you're still hanging out in that 140 to 155 heart rate range?
Not much.
Like nothing. So what do you like? Forget like the measuring of the device and the data aspect of it. Do you understand how much you're losing from the experience?
It's like, man, it's like going to a picnic and like timing the bites of your sandwich,
or staring at your sandwich and being told when to eat and never looking up and never speaking to anybody.
Right. That's a beautiful park, and like,
yeah, it's like, what the, like, tell me how you get enjoyment out of that. And then you get back and you pull it up. It's like you missed the whole opportunity. You missed the whole opportunity to get better, to feel better, to let your mind go, to let your body go, to, and to just absorb, life and how things feel, and the wind and the terrain and how your body is moving, and just run the way you feel. And you can keep your eyes forward, you can keep them looking around, and you can enjoy what you see. Like, you can't, and so you take that aspect of running or riding, and then you take the person who has to be glued to their watch 24/7. It's like the person who's driving down PCH in California and is texting and driving the entire time, versus the person who doesn't have a phone, has the top down on their convertible for 100 miles. Who's gonna soak in more and enjoy that trip more?
Oh man, no
Yeah,
wonder.
it's a no-brainer. Yeah, and so it's the exact
And
same.
not only that, how much more
same thing.
relaxed will you be?
Yeah, fulfilled.
Yeah,
You
fulfilled,
know.
relaxed. You get done with that drive, you're like, wow, man, that was incredible.
Yeah.
Or do you think about work the whole time, or texting some, friend or whatever? It's like be in the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really short article. If you don't mind, I'm gonna read it real quick.
Oh yeah.
It's
Hang on, let
by
me get some coffee.
okay.
I'm kidding. I'm
Not that long. It's by Mario
kick back.
Fraioli, and it's his article. I'll send you a link to it so we can link to it in the show notes. But he's a very well known and well respected running coach, high performance running coach. And he has a blog and I believe a podcast too called The Morning Shakeout. And the title's called "Is Metric Fixation Paralyzing Your Performance?"
Ooh.
I feel like we basically just covered a lot of this before, but I'll skip like the first because he links to an article I read last week, but it says this article deals mostly with business, education, and other professional areas. But many of the points he makes about metric fixation apply to data-heavy sports, like running or, like for us, triathlon. The two main takeaways that I've observed many times over as an athlete and as a coach. Number one, being too tied to numbers all the time. Example, I'm going to stay at 160 heart rate on race day and no higher, really discourages taking initiative, experimentation, and risk-taking, which can ultimately stymie a potential breakthrough in performance. Number two, relying on numbers, and this is like one of the most what I struggle to deal with as a coach on like a day-to-day basis, even in training. Number two, relying on numbers as a sole measure of success. If I don't break 3 hours in the marathon, the race is a failure. Or if I can't run these mile repeats under 6 minutes, the workout is a waste. Means you're only playing to the numbers and not thinking about how you're feeling, how you're reacting to the various variables you might be dealing with, or even appreciating the progress you made in other areas of the race or workout that are not directly tied to time or some other measurable metric. Now, this doesn't mean that performance metrics aren't important or useful. They are and they can be, but the numbers you're looking at are meant to be a guide on the path to achieving your goal. They are not the goal itself. And I love this last line, especially as a coach, is I love. Remember, you are not a programmable robot. You are an experiment. And almost every experiment worth its salt is prone to failure before it realizes success. It's a part of the process. Analyze, understand, adjust, improve, repeat. And I mean, I couldn't be any more behind everything he said, and as kind of summarizing this article, from coaching and from an athletic standpoint. It is, I both love it, and it is both, as like I said before, as a coach, I struggle hard with on a day-to-day basis, watching athletes beat themselves up or not live up to their many times baseless expectation of a number, where sometimes they just find themselves, I don't even know where I got this number from, and I don't even know why this is discouraging. I just am.
Mm-hmm.
And the numbers thing is a huge deal, especially like if I don't break this, then the marathon or this race is a failure. And I love what he says. It means you're not only playing the numbers and not thinking about how you're feeling, how you're reacting to the various variables you might be dealing with, or appreciating the progress you made in other areas. And that is, with anytime you're going to have like a ton of athletes racing, and no matter what, you're always going to have athletes who are, not everybody's going to be happy. That's just coaching. Somebody's going to be disappointed. Somebody's going to be discouraged. And everybody has, even though they'll tell you, well, I didn't feel like, I didn't really have any expectations. I just thought that I would be this, and this. And I'm discouraged, or I'm frustrated, or I put all this work into it, and I thought I was going to get X or Y or Z. And this is kind of how I respond. I would encourage every athlete to look at this, because you do races and you train hard, and sometimes listen, I hate to break it to everybody, but you're only going to have one PR in every single event. And you're never, ever, ever going to PR every race that you do. You're just not. There are too many variables. There are too many conditions. You're a different person. There are too many life circumstances. You're never going to PR every race.
Yeah.
And just not. And I know it sucks, but it doesn't.
I know, but it really, when you just say it, it's sort of like, wow, that really sinks in. Because how many times, well, every time we go into a race, at least on some level, hoping for or thinking we're going to PR it.
Yeah.
But it 9 times out of 10 it doesn't happen, especially after you get into the sport a little while.
Exactly, and it's naive to think that you are. And we
or is it optimistic?
It's naive optimism is what it is. But this is how I responded to, I think, 2 athletes. I said, race day is, and I know this is going to be hard to swallow, and some people might disagree with me, but race day is not a simple sole representation of how fit am I. If it was, then racing and triathlon would be easy. What is race day, then you ask, and what is it a representation of? Number 1, how did you manage the day given what your body allowed you to do? Did you feel 100%? Did your body react exactly how you asked it to and when you asked it to do something? How did your body deal with the heat and the cold? Number 2, how did I execute my day and my plan? How was my pacing? How was my nutrition? Did I go too hard or did I go too easy during certain aspects of the race? Was I hydrated properly during the race? Number 3, how were my mind and emotions? Was I engaged all day? Did I get too confident or did I get too down on myself? Was I focused? All those things happen during training, and then they happen during your race. Effort is what is the most important, and then one day, when they all line up together, you'll PR. You'll break every record you ever had. You'll get the perfect weather. The body's 100%. The mind is 100%. Equipment and nutrition are perfect. That's how you get your best day. Unfortunately, those days are few and far between. They don't happen every single race. And I wish they would, but they don't. You get different days, different obstacles, courses, temps, everything, etc. It's always different. So when athletes fall back onto a comparison game of I expected to, blank because I train this way, is a very tricky slope. But honestly, if we did PR every race, it wouldn't be. You'd be missing a gigantic piece of the puzzle, in my opinion. You're because I think you'd begin to take things for granted. And you and I kind of swapped text messages on about a course, about an athlete's certain split. I was like, man, this sport is relentless. Mm-hmm. Because you go in thinking you're going to do X, Y, and Z, and then Mother Nature shows up in different conditions and people and circumstances, and then where does it go? It just totally goes out the window. It's like, but we forget that's how little of control we have of the day.
Yeah.
And it isn't. I would love it to always be, and in some aspects, how fit am I? But triathlon in general is just so complicated and so complex. There's so many things to take into account before you make a judgment call on if it was a good or a bad day.
Yeah, and it's the harshness of it. Sometimes, I mean, we've been on this podcast just a little over 20 minutes. It doesn't feel like that long, really. in the big scope of everything. And that was basically how much I missed my goal by at Chattanooga. And it just feels like a complete, failure sometimes. It's like, it's like 20 minutes. It's really, you're like, you missed your PR by like 8 minutes or something like that. I mean, that's not that much time. I mean, and to really kind of put that burden of judgment on yourself as far as like, man, wow, what a terrible race. I really, like, whatever. It wasn't that bad. You know what I mean? You must have done something right out there. I mean, if you really would have bombed it, you wouldn't have finished, or, maybe like an hour or behind your goal or something like that. But like if it's a fine line in there, man. If you make a couple, like you're saying, how did you handle that? Were you hydrating well? I mean, if you just miss a few of those little variables, and the odds are you're going to do that. You're going to miss something. And for everything to line up and nail that PR. And I was just, I was also thinking too how easy it is. And I speak for myself here, but I think a lot of people probably do this. But we think about like, like if you're training for a half, and in one of the day's workouts has intervals at open half marathon pace.
Mm-hmm.
And how that number seems to crystallize in your head as far as like your capabilities sometimes,
Right.
When people train. Do you run into that a lot with athletes? I mean, does that sort of become that faux target?
I have to ask him, where the hell did you get that number?
Uh-huh.
Or like where or let me ask you this. What were you expecting to run?
Well, that's what I mean. I ran, my half marathon PR was like 4 years ago, and I still kind of like, you know what I mean? Like it just still sort of lingers because I've trained a lot since then, and I should be able to do that, man.
Here's how I love, regardless of age and experience, and because triathlon is such a difficult and complex sport with 3 different disciplines: nutrition, weather, competitors, location, everything. Tell me what your best performance was. And many times, especially the more experienced you are and how long you've been in the sport, it's not going to be your PR. What is your best performance?
What is your best performance?
Because it's like for me, like I feel like I did really, really well at Wisconsin. What, 2 years ago, 3 years ago when we did it?
It's funny because that's the one that came to mind for me.
And I did I think I was 3 minutes slower on Wisconsin, which is a harder swim, a harder bike, and a harder run than my PR from 2011 in Arizona. I was like less than 3 minutes off. So I did Arizona in 2011 at like a 10:30 and change. I can't remember the exact number, but somewhere in the 10:30 range. Single, no real worries in life. Flew out to Arizona by myself. Did this race, easy swim, flat bike, flat run, cool temps. I go to Wisconsin, 7 weeks post baby. Harder swim, infinitely harder bike course, and much harder run course. And there with Mom and Allie and Hayden and sleeping in the bed with a 7-week-old, it was just like not ideal. And I think I was like maybe 2 or 3 minutes max slower. So what's a better performance? I mean, hands down, to me, Wisconsin, because of the shape I was in, the effort level I was able to give, the circumstances. So, to me, that's probably one of my better performances. But is it my PR? No. And so I think that's and again, the longer you get in the sport, we've all got these PRs, but they're all perfect day PRs. Yeah. Fast courses, for the best feeling. I think my 70.3 PR is still Augusta from 2012, and it was the perfect day. Easiest swim on the triathlon planet is Augusta, and then easy bike course in the it was perfect temps for what I think is the flattest, fastest bike course, or a run course for 70.3 in Augusta. And so I just, but is that still my best performance? No. It just all lined up together. Did I perform well? Yes. But am I a better athlete today? Absolutely. Have I done the same course? No. It's just like you never, ever, ever get dealt the same cards on a race day. You never get dealt the same hand. And so it's expecting, it's like every race you expect to be able to lay down a full house or a flush when maybe you've been dealt a 6 and a 4 on the flop. Or it's like, but we still expect to get a full house, and we still because we've had it before.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get it again. But that's why you got to keep working, and be in love with working hard and doing the best that you can, and just really entrenching yourself in that journey of just finding out how much better you can be in different areas. And yeah, of course, as you get older, is it going to become like Mark Strasser, we were texting back and forth. He's like, yeah, I need my runs there. And he was like, Joe Friel says, some days you just got to quit chasing your old PRs because you're just going to be too old. And I was like, well, you can F Joe Friel for right now because we're still going for it. But
it's funny because he's the one who told me that someday you get older, you just got to accept the fact that you're never going to PR again.
Exactly, Mark. We ain't done with you yet, buddy. But it's just, it's that's the thing, and we just get stuck in this obsession with in this like train. We get stuck sometimes in what I call like training entitlement. I've trained hard. I've been consistent. I will. There's no reason why I shouldn't PR.
Yeah.
There are a lot of reasons that could definitely get in your way for not doing that on any given day. Sprint distance, Olympic distance, 70.3, full, marathon, half marathon, whatever it is. Once you take on that like training entitlement, then you're in trouble because there are way too many things to go wrong with nutrition and equipment, mindset, temperature. I mean, there's so many things, but that's why we love it.
Yeah, let me think about it. Well, you just mentioned Wisconsin. It was funny because that was the first race that came into my mind. Was that exact year? Same kind of reasons. And if you think about when you think about a PR in triathlon, that means that you've done pretty well in 3 different sports. You know what I mean? It's like you can go out and PR a half marathon and just nail that, but can you nail the swim, the bike, and the run on the same day? And that is it just kind of got in my head there a little bit. It's kind of, and because I was thinking about that Wisconsin race, and I don't think I nailed any particular thing that day. I remember I swam pretty well for most of the swim, and I biked fairly solid, but I did have my struggles. But I kept pretty solid on all that. I kept pretty consistent. It wasn't like my best day, but it was a pretty good day on everything. And the same went with the run. I didn't like go crush it, but I just do remember my big thing on that whole day was that I remember hitting the second loop and feeling pretty good. I was a little cautious because I wasn't sure, I was right on that fine line. I actually had a chance to maybe do something spectacular, hit my PR that day, but I kind of opted to play it a little safe. And I just remember how that was easily my most enjoyable second loop of an Ironman marathon, and how I just think I walked the edge perfectly. I wasn't necessarily in quote-unquote PR shape, but I got like you said, it was the performance that day out of where I was that I felt like was just nailed. And it was right about the same, marathon time I typically run, but for whatever reason, it was just more enjoyable, and it all just sort of kind of came together on everything. I didn't like drill the bike or the swim or anything. It was just sort of solid. And that's kind of the baseline sort of to think about, I think, is like a lot of times you see it all the time. Is like certain people are, go out and just absolutely destroy the swim or the bike or even the run, but the other parts of the equation aren't there. So how do you get, it's back to that sort of like, if Ironman is 70% of your effort or 75% of your effort, how do you get 77%, across the board?
Yep.
To sort of think of it in those terms, because, if I'm trying to swim, 105 is my best or something like that, and I get a 108, that's pretty good, And then if you can you're shooting for like, under 6 hours and you're right at 6 hours, that's pretty good. If you just sort of stay in that ballpark, it's kind of that, and that really all relates in a bigger scope to the patience piece that we always talk about, and how to, keep that fine line just right there and not go over it. And, and I guess ideally if you can hit that second loop of your run and kind of start feeling like you got it left and go for it towards the end, then that's the ideal situation. But I don't know. It just brought up a whole kind of a different mindset for me to think about how to race these things, because it seems like a lot of times it's like, oh man, I just had a shitty swim, I got to make up for it on the bike, and then you kind of like overbike, and then vice versa or whatever, instead of just kind of shooting for your zones or those target areas.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, I mean, you have to have the perfect
at all costs.
Exactly, at all costs. But like, that's why you were saying like Wisconsin, like does your best performance, and even like sometimes your PRs or your best performances can come from not your greatest fitness, but in fact your greatest execution. Because you can be in incredible shape and just make idiotic, stupid mistakes. You can not fuel yourself properly. You can forget to do this. You could have something bad happen, like you lose your nutrition on the bike. You don't go pick it up. You had stomach issues during the swim. Whatever. Like there's just that's why like when you feel like you're entitled to a PR, they're never easy, ever. None of it comes easy. There's nothing easy about it. There's just too many things that you need to go right, or too many things that could go wrong. It's how you adapt. But so many times it is just like you just need to have like an uneventful, like perfectly executed day where you feel really, really good. Yeah. Because even if you feel just great and your confidence is sky high, there are still plenty of other things to go wrong. Now, especially in long course type events. Yeah, and
that's why I was so fascinated by. You said you nailed your nutrition in Chattanooga, right?
Yep.
And like that's one of those things where you hear people say that, and like as much as you think about that and work on that, and you work on it in training a lot. Yeah. And I just think it kind of like becomes something that people are like, well, I just gonna nail my nutrition or what. I think it's a lot deeper than that, first of all. And secondly, when I think about my nutrition, because I don't work at it that hard, what I do is I play it safe, in especially Ironman. I just kind of play, because to get the PR, to go for something like the podium like you got in Chattanooga, you really have to take that, I don't want to say risks, but I mean, you have to dial that, almost way in, you're shrinking that target box way down a little bit. Not way down a little bit. You're shrinking it down and getting more laser focused on that. And that's when shit can go wrong too. You know what I mean? Yep. Like, so I just think about, when I get out on the Ironman bike, usually I just sort of play it safe. I always kind of take 2 bottles and kind of just keep going through that and whatever. And I bring my Cliff Bar and I eat a few of those. And, I don't really, it's sort of walking that line between not taking too much or, not getting enough or whatever. And it's sort of like I'm just having kind of a general meal a lot of time. You know what I mean? Is this even making any sense?
Yeah, you just go through the motions. You don't take, you think this is enough to kind of get me through.
Well, and Well, that, and I may take a little more. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's not like super dialed into like the least possible or the exact amount. It's just sort of ballparky.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, so yours isn't dialed in.
Correct. Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's still safe. I mean,
exactly. You know what you're doing is good enough
right.
to get me through.
Right.
Now, it's not the worst because you're not going to bonk from it, but it's not the best either. But it's
right. That's what I'm getting
good.
at.
Yeah, it's good enough.
Yeah, I just think that's an important thing because it's easy to sit here and say, you know, dial in your nutrition, but I don't think it's as simple as just you know, pulling it out of your hat that day. You got to really.
No, you do. You have to have a plan. You have to. And that's the other thing. It's like that's why you have to practice it in training. You know, you have to work to find the exact thing that's going to fuel you for the best performance, not just, you know, willy-nilly your way along.
Right.
And that's what happens a lot of times with a lot of athletes. They get stuck there.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, right? You know, and that's the thing about PRs in general is that all that stuff has to be really there, you know, and you got to pull it together from a big perspective, and you can't just sort of. I mean, you'll have a PR. You know, you're going to have a PR because you just have one, and that was sort of whatever happened that day, and it was your best day, and it could have been like you said. I think more times than not, it's just this kind of combination of solid fitness meets perfect day, and like you just feel good for whatever reason,
and a little bit of luck,
yeah. So, I don't know. Anyway. It's just so complicated, but you know, how do you not overcomplicate it either? It's, I guess, the big challenge. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's something you pay attention to, and a lot of athletes don't. They pay attention to every other aspect of their training. They spend 30 minutes a day analyzing their zone 2 30-minute run, but they don't spend 2 seconds on fine-tuning the fuel that is going to be the catalyst for how they perform on that day with their body and their fitness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like put the effort and the time into the things that, you know, are going to fuel your body, not just, you know, the stuff that seems fancy. Like there's nothing fancy about nutrition, but you'll know when it doesn't work, you know, and you'll know when it does.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's just like so many athletes, like this is something that I try to get across, like beat it to a stick, and sometimes it doesn't even then sink in. Like athletes on the bike, you're not just fueling for your bike ride. You're doing almost all of your fueling for your run as well. And so many athletes get stuck with not taking in enough water, not taking enough nutrition. Like I can get by, like this is gonna get me through the bike. Hello, it's also supposed to get you through the majority of the run.
Yeah.
You just can't, unless you're planning on walking a lot so you can slow your heart rate down and your body can actually be able to handle and absorb as many calories as it's going to need to play catch up, then you're going to need to get most of your nutrition from the bike, because you're not going to be able to take nearly enough as you want to play catch up if you get behind on the run. Like, let's say you're 200 calories behind on the bike. Might not sound by a lot, might not sound like a lot. But if you're on the run and you're trying to run the whole part of the whole half marathon, good luck trying to take in an extra 200 calories. That's a lot, especially if you're just going just by aid station stuff. So you got to pay it. Again, when it comes like down to the PR stuff, it's like you got to pay attention. You got to pay attention to the details. Everything. If you want it, if PR matters or to you, or that's how it is, then think about all the other things that also matter and that are going to control this. And what's going to be the determining factor? Are you paying attention to your equipment choices? Are you paying attention to your pre-race nutrition, your pre-race hydration? Do you have an exact plan on, I'm going to get this much fluid and this much this from this aid station, then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to have it down nailed? Or are you just kind of going willy-nilly and hoping? Like, if you really want to execute and you really want to find out how good you can be on any given day, then you can't just willy-nilly your way through a race or in training. You have to have it dialed in. It has to have a purpose, because if it doesn't, then you're never really going to know. It just might always be just okay or good enough, but it'll never be your best. Yeah. Is that challenging?
Yeah. So the complications of chasing PRs.
Yeah. It's a tough one.
There's a lot of them. So what else is on your mind these days?
These days? Oh, geez.
Today.
Today?
Well,
I'm getting a haircut. Got to run early this morning. Got to get a swim in. I'm pumped for camp. That's what's on my mind these days. I'm pumped for camp.
Yeah, we got the camp coming up.
I'm very pumped about camp.
We got a new video out too.
That's my focus. Yeah, and I got a new camp primer. And if you ever have any interest in either camps, although they're sold out at the moment, you can always email me at c26coach@gmail.com. I'll send you some info, and then I'm sure here in the next 2 to 3 months we'll release some dates for 2019, because we all know how triathletes like to plan.
Oh yeah.
So we'll get those out. But yeah, just pumped for camp.
Yeah, I am too. The video kind of goes through what happened in April, and is a preview of what'll happen in June.
Yeah, and as usual, you do a great job with the video, and it pumps me up, and I'm excited again. Like triathlon, and I cannot emphasize this enough. I cannot. And this goes the same way with coaching and being an athlete on our team, that the most important asset on our entire team is the cumulative experience and support and energy and wisdom and friendship that our team and our athletes provide. I am insanely lucky to be able to call this a job, to work with so many amazing people. But to be, and we have our own closed active athlete group for just our athletes that I coach, and like to be able to bounce ideas or problems or questions off just not me, but off 100 different athletes, different ages, sex, experience, life circumstances. You cover all angles. You just don't have a resource with a coach. You have a resource to all these other amazing people that are incredibly supportive, and that is that's camp. You come with I just want to get better, and then you leave with like having like the greatest time in your life and all this increased fitness and friendship, and it is everything. It is everything about the sport that is good.
Yeah, the guys that were staying here with me. Actually, I interviewed not everybody, but about half the campers last time, and then they turned the camera on me and interviewed me and asked, what did you guys come up with the idea, or why did you want to have camps? And I kind of was like, I said, I think it got to a point where we were doing all these podcasts and we were kind of like, emailing and chatting and whatever, posting. And then it came down to, man, we just want to meet people, and we want to meet these people. And that has been like you said, the biggest thing to me is, and I think that's the thing that gets lost sometimes in triathlon, is that we get all in these forums and we get all wrapped up in, checking out gear and like, watching videos and whatever. But man, when you can have a group of people at races that cool people, and meet them and know them. I mean, since the camp, and then, last year all the campers came in, and then we got to see a lot of them again this year at Chattanooga or wherever, other races. There's nothing better than that, man.
Nope.
And that is the really the nexus of what we do and what we wanted to do, and how this is all kind of coming together, and people all over the place are meeting each other, and I think becoming good friends and lifelong race buddies.
Yep, it's the best part of it.
Yeah. I agree.
But yeah, that's about all I got. I'm just pumped for camp, getting ready for it, and looking forward to a good time and hard work and good people.
Mm-hmm. And you got a race coming up,
Do I?
don't you?
I got Ohio. Yeah, well, I'm doing the Renaissance Man Olympic in Alabama, July 7th or 8th, I think is the day. And then Ohio, yeah.
Man, July's going to be busy for you, my man.
Yeah, man, June's been chill, but that's okay. Got birthday and Father's Day this weekend. So, gonna enjoy myself, hang out with the family, try not to eat too much cake, and just enjoy myself.
Okay.
Turning 27.
27. That's
Yeah,
tough.
man, new age group. Tough age group though.
That is a tough age group, man.
It is, man.
Yeah, we do have a closed Facebook group. If you're listening and would like to get involved in that, just search Crushing Iron Group on Facebook, and then we will send us a request. We will let you in. Please follow us on YouTube. Crushing Iron is the search. More and more videos coming out all the time. And what else? Oh, I did say we're going to have the Beginner's Guide to Triathlon. That's the thing that we're going to be putting out here shortly. And we want to be able to share that with you, and then maybe have you share it with friends that have been thinking about triathlon. It's just kind of a summary of how you get in and how you deal with, finding races, and how equipment that you need, and just simplified form of how to get into triathlon. And we thought it would be kind of cool if you guys could just, share it with somebody that might be thinking about it.
Our beginner's manifesto.
Beginner's manifesto.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I bet they are.
Yeah.
I don't know what a manifesto is, but it seems like you can use it for anything. Kind of like you can use the word summit for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike and I are going to meet tomorrow at coffee for our usual C26 Triathlon International Summit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have a goal of a summit at some point, right?
We do. We actually
Getting together the Crushing Iron Mastermind athletes.
You know what? I'm going to float that out there. We do. We would. This is something that we kind of thought about a couple months ago, but we would love to for 2019. For anybody has a hookup in a good, solid city that's really easy to get to, especially in the hospitality industry. If you have a great location. And don't be a homer just because it's like 2 blocks down from your street. Be reasonable. Where we could host like a Crushing Iron Summit. And I'm talking like just a weekend where everybody comes. Hopefully we can get like everybody in the same hotel in a good city. Probably early season time of the year because it gets busier as the year goes by. And we just all come in, all work out together, do group workouts, get some training in, meet some good people, and actually get to meet people face to face, and do a few fun things. But yeah, if you have any ideas on the city or location or how you could help us put that together, you can email Mike at crushingiron@gmail.com, or you can email me at c26coach@gmail.com.
Have you been working on your keynote address?
I have been.
Okay, good.
Slideshow, and everything.
And everything.
Yep.
Bike demonstration?
Bike demonstration?
Yeah.
Yes, this is how you pedal. Yeah, that'll be chapter 1 on the slide number 1. How you pedal.
I just had this picture of you on a stage on a trainer with your headset on going, get pumped! We got a new season coming up.
Yeah, I'm like Spinnervals meets who's that guy that does all the motivational speaking?
Tony Robbins.
Yeah, I'll be like Spinnervals spin instructor meets Tony Robbins meets that weird like aerobics instructor guy that was always on TV.
Richard Simmons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Tony Robbins meets Richard Simmons meets spin instructor.
Yeah, and instead of walking on fire, we'll walk on slippery rocks.
That's right.
Barefoot.
We'll bike across tacks and nails.
And change tires in heat, under heat lamps.
With no fingers. All right. But, if you're still listening, we appreciate it. So make sure
CrushingIron.com.
CrushingIron.com.
If you just can't get enough.
On iTunes, and if you liked us so far, leave us a review. We appreciate it.
Any other things we need to ask for?
I think that's all I got at the moment.
If you do like the podcast, you can send us a pledge on our website at crushingiron.com. There's a pledge tab.
Always appreciated.
A couple bucks here, a couple bucks there.
Couple $100 here.
Lot of expenses surrounding this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That just keep adding up. They just keep coming, just like training workouts.
Yep, happens to the best of us.
All right, man.
Man, I'll talk to you later.
Okay, see ya.